want more. Crime babies looking for food, starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Even 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a dead old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the brink. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double, but nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't steer. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
Yes, y'all, it is Tuesday, 27th January, 09:52, and that would be Eastern Standard Time. That would make it 03:52 Eastern Standard Time in America, and that would make it about 1:01:53 Pacific Time, right? Roughly, is it that, or am I off on that time? I need to actually review that myself and get a clock. I keep saying that. And I'm going to do it. Obviously, I've been so busy all the time. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody survived yesterday's podcast, because that was damn gruesome. Hearing some accounts, we didn't even hear the whole account of Sasha Riley, the new victim or the recent victim, you could say. I don't know if it's recent. Some people say it says he's been writing about it, but now what's been released in the last like week are some audio recordings that he made with someone that interviewed him. What's the let me see, who was the woman who interviewed him again? Let me just pull that out real quick. Lisa Valding, exactly. Lisa Valding interviewed Sasha Riley. Sasha he's a vet, right? Served in the Marines, served in Afghanistan, and but he has an extremely, not even just compelling, shocking history of his time with Donald Trump as a child, being mutilated, being basically assaulted in all types of ways, and not just Donald Trump, Epstein, and other adult men. And some of these adult men are in Congress right now that he alleges, and also possibly the Supreme Court. And he mentioned some names, and it is a really shocking review. I don't know how many of you all actually were with us yesterday, but I'm still trying to process it. It is the worst thing. And I'm just going to go ahead out there and say it. If you're a decent person that doesn't know horrific, horrible things in your life, right? And you've been sheltered from a lot of stuff, you might want to really, really check yourself before you take a listen to some of the descriptions, because it's not how he's describing it that's so gruesome. It's just the acts alone are terrible. They're terrible. And they're worse than what I could imagine. I couldn't imagine anything like this. Dang, what's up? Yeah, I couldn't imagine these kind of things. I don't think a normal person imagines this stuff, and it might lead to people like just dismissing it somehow, thinking that, oh, it's so horrible, that couldn't happen. My president wouldn't do anything like that. Listen, when are you going to get it through your head? How many people does it take to say that somebody would and could and has been around at least people that did that? Listen, you've already heard people say that Donald Trump's best friend was doing all types of horrific things. You've heard him be accused directly by at least one victim, right? Alleged victim. That's just totally out there in the public. It's totally out there in the public, on tape, public deposition. Her saying that Donald Trump abused her like 4 times when she was between 13 and 14 years old, along with Jeffrey Epstein and others. You've heard this stuff. It's not new. And the only thing is, do you expect the descriptions to get better or worse? These descriptions get worse. They get worse. And there's nothing funny about them. There's nothing, it's just horrible. Like, if there is no justice, I hate even saying if these things happen, because of course, I believe that this shit happened. I don't believe somebody makes up something with this much detail. Like, I'm sorry, but there was way too much detail provided in just 1 hour of Sasha, or an hour and a half, something like that, of Sasha Riley's interview. Like, and he has 6 more hours, something like that. Yo, this stuff is horrendous. And if there's no criminal investigation, if the FBI doesn't investigate this, if the states where he claims that these things happen, Alabama, another state, some southern states, but I'm not sure of all of them. Don't quote me on each one, because this went on through a long period of time. This was not one place. You see what I mean? It's several different places, like kind of like a moving around party. You know what I'm saying? Rafika, I see you. Yeah, it's like a moving around event, and the people involved, yo, listen, I'm sorry, but the news media has to question these people, like, right away. You have to ask. You cannot sit back on your heels and not at least ask them these questions. Listen, any anytime someone is being accused of anyone of these kind of things, it should be a law that they should be asked, at least asked. You see what I mean? And right now, it seems like none of that is going to happen. Right now, it seems like nobody's asking nobody about nothing. And I'm just saying, legacy media is owned by rich people, so that may not be a surprise to a lot of folks but Donald Trump said himself, a lot of his friends are going to get hurt. That's something Donald Trump alleged openly to the world and said openly to the world. He's admitting that to the world, that he doesn't want the things released because a lot of his friends will be hurt. But what type of friends you got, man? Do you got molesting friends? Do you got friends that's putting their hands on kids? Do you got friends that are torturing and beating children? Do you have friends that murder children? Do you have people that murder children? And that's the thing. And look, hold on. I'm just going to get rid of crazy ass psychopathic Mike in here, because Mike obviously doesn't care what happens to his family members, let alone anybody else's. But this is the thing. You shouldn't care whether you can prove this happened. Asking has nothing to do with that. A simple ask, a simple inquiry, that at least alleviates your hands of any type of guilt. And it just doesn't seem like legacy media or the FBI or even the CIA or any other state government wants to wash their hands of this. You know what I'm saying? Wants to alleviate their role, their responsibility in this, because as far as I heard, the moment a crime is said to have been committed, you're supposed to investigate it. Very simple. There's supposed to be some paper trail. There's supposed to be something. And, it just, to me, seems like they just don't want to follow through with this. Now, so it's shocking. It's scary. And I'm going to listen to some more of this, and it's rotten. But before we get to this, not that there's things that are more important, but there's things that are pressing right now that's happening to everybody right now today. And of course, this is happening. What the crime of Sasha Riley, the crime of all the victims. Look, all these things, you could say that these things weren't proven. You could say that nobody was ever convicted, so it never happened. You could say that all you want. But I say something else. You're living their life right now. You're being victimized by the same people right now, but the only problem is because no one did anything about it back then. Look at your problem right now. How's your health care doing? Let me know the state you live in, and let me know how much your health insurance costs. Let me know how things are going for you. Are you being victimized, or are you living your best life out there? I mean, you let me know. Have the wealthy people gotten the biggest tax break in the history of mankind under this presidency, right? The same people that, Sasha Riley claim are out there in some sort of child trafficking ring where they're torturing little children. Like, we talking about from like 7, 8 years old. I believe he said he was trafficked from the time he was 8 to 12 years old. He was being beaten and tortured. We talking about beaten and tortured, like sexually and other ways. It just seems like, and Mr. Jim Glass, do you have children, Jim Glass? What state do you live in, and what is your who's your healthcare provider, Jim Glass? Jim Glass, a person named Jim Glass, which is probably a troll, fake name, not a real person. Don't know. They could be from Russia. They could be one or, some right-wing operative or something. You never know where they are. But Jim, tell everybody in the chat what state you live in and who's your healthcare provider, so we know that you're just not a petty troll. Come on with it, Jim. Come on. Keep it real, baby. All right. And you know what I'm saying? Yeah, this is crazy. And I have nobody got a state. Here we go. Here come the trolls. I was expecting that. It only take a minute or two. So here we go. Jason Holmes. Jason. Look at this. 937. Do you have a state? Do you have a health care? I didn't say a state. I didn't say a town. I said a state and health care. Look at that. Brooklyn don't even know. Lord Induff doesn't even speak English. What the hell's going on, man? You guys don't know? You guys don't know? Oh, and look, and then see 937. See, this is what it is. Now he wants to get. Now I'm not going to tell you what he wanted to do, but he wants to insult human beings' intelligence by making a racial statement after. And it could be a racial statement about any of y'all out there, whatever group, because all people just listen to my channel of different colors, different backgrounds, different religions, different genders, and things like that. So, but this is what they do. So what does that mean? What does that mean when you have a bunch of people with opinions that believe in Donald Trump this much, would claim to die for Donald Trump? They claim it, but they can't tell you anything factual about their own existence. They can't tell you what state they live in. Something as general as that. What state they live in and who the healthcare provider is. That means they're fake. That's what that means. But don't worry, because we're about to put the chat in subscribe, and trolls don't have fingers, apparently. You know, they don't have that finger button where they can put up and say, I'm subscribing, I'm staying in the chat. Oh, wow, that's going to be amazing when they figure that out. But in any case, for those of you that want to hear, let's go over to the news first, and then we're going to get back to the claims that were made by Sasha Riley. And they are indeed horrific. And somebody said you're a troll. Well, why are you here, Ray? Why are you listening to a troll, Ray? Where do you put your priorities, Ray? Did I invite you here, Ray? No, Ray. So what's that all about? But Ray, can you tell us your state and your healthcare provider, or you don't have any healthcare? Let me know. By the way, I have universal healthcare. I live in Denmark. Everybody in Denmark has universal healthcare. I'm an American, born and raised in Washington, D.C. My family on both sides goes back to the colonial period of the United States. But also, if you want to know a little bit about the town where I come from and me and my little friends, you can find some of us in this book called Pump Me Up DC, Subculture 1980s. Yeah, you can find that up. Look that up online. It's a pretty thick book. It has some nice photos in it. And if you want to qualify some things, also, you can check me out. I've also been in a documentary called The Legend of Cool Disco Dan about DC subculture. That's just for people that want to know who's talking to them. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I have healthcare, universal healthcare. What about you guys? What state do you live in? What about you guys, Dazinger? You have a state? Do you exist in a state that has healthcare? Or that's so funny. Yeah, 937. I live in Denmark. You angry about that? What state do you live in, and do you have healthcare? Let us know how people are doing it where you live. What is that imaginary place called? Let us know. You see, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have a place, and then he's still, so he thinks that, oh, this is so funny. Look at this. They hate you, monkey. Look at that. He loves, see, this is how the rich people, the wealthy, protect themselves, by trying to divide and conquer different groups of people. They try to split everyone up by who are you, what's your sexual orientation, what's your religion, what's your color, these kind of things. They go straight into that, and that is the only defense they have, because it's always worked for them that way. But now their world is breaking apart, and look at the chat. You could see it. It's like the Matrix. It's like, I'm dying, please. Please stay divided. You white people over here, you niggas over here, please don't talk together. You gay people over in your own corner, you straight people, don't go with them, please. They're gonna figure us out. And they fight back. Look at that. Look at this. Happy friend. Don't worry about the USA. I'm not worried about the USA. But do you have a state, and do you have health care, so we know if you're a real person or not? No, you probably don't. Well, I tell you what, you can't reveal what country you come from, right? You can't reveal the state. Yeah, we know. We can't reveal your identity. You just have an opinion. I understand. I got you. That's not a problem with me. I thank you for for coming. It helps boost up the algorithm to some degree, so I appreciate that also. But as you know, all good things have to come to an end sometime, right? And to prove my point, at some point I'm going to have to put in subscriber mode so I can see how many of you are not just bots and trolls, AI trolls and things like that. So on the count of 3, we're going to play that little game, right? And we're going to find out. So 1, 2, 3. Boom. Okay. Wow. Let's see. Now let's go back and check while I take my latte, my morning latte, see how that tastes. It's a real latte. It's not imaginary. My opinion is real. It's coming from a real person, not a troll. It's not an imaginary person. A person with a background, a person with a history. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about that. Good morning. Good morning to you. Now let's see who stayed in there. Let's stay in there. This is so funny. Okay, look, a lot of them couldn't be in there. That's crazy. So that means let's say one out of 10. 1 out of 10. There you go. 1 out of 10 are actually not AI bots. Damn, that's crazy. For this early in the stream, it's 1 minute. Damn, that's really crazy. But in any case, the rest of you all don't listen. Don't be afraid to let anybody know that you're a real person. And what comes with that is by sharing a little bit about yourself so that people can know if you're real. And the easiest way to do that is just say the state and just say the healthcare provider. Then we can judge your statements, because if you feel so strongly about this time right now, I want to know the community you live in and how much they pay for healthcare. Then we will know more. We will know more about how well you're doing. You see what I mean? And I'm not talking about you personally. See, that's the thing that's even better. I'm talking about the state you live in, the general lifestyle of the people where you live. Not just you. It's not so personal. So don't get so personal against me. Don't hate me. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's not necessary. That's not necessary at all. I'm just talking about things that are actually out there in the public sphere. So please don't take it personal. If there's something you don't like in the public sphere, there's only 2 things you can do about it. Nothing, shut up and accept it, or do something about it. Start a political party, start a political movement, do something about it, But being up here is probably not really going to do much, all right? Because as you notice, there's a lot of people in the United States getting pretty angry about this regime. And that part hasn't changed, and that angry part is growing, and there's less people following the MAGA movement than there were a year ago. Things like that are changing. You see what I mean? Republicans in special elections are getting voted out of office even before the midterm elections, which is crazy. Even before the midterm elections. I mean, how's that possible? This is how people think about what's going on in the United States right now. Trump really did try to go and take over Greenland, or really did threaten them with violence. The military of Denmark was ordered to shoot first if there would be an invasion. Yes, that really happened. That was really given a real order. And then Donald Trump really did change his mind the next day. Like, those things really happen right in front of your face. And, it's sad, but it is what it is. That's the country we live in. Donald Trump really did cut a lot of people's health care. And he called for it. Yeah, and that happened. Donald Trump really did issue tariffs that sent the U.S. dollar sinking down since he's been in office. Yeah, it's down 10 points since he's been in office. People dumping the dollar for gold. You know what I'm saying? So people that said, fuck the dollar, fuck the U.S. dollar. If you said, mother, fuck the U.S. dollar, January 20th, you put $1 million into gold, whoo, man, you would have cleaned up. You would have cleaned up on gold right now. You know what I mean? I wish I did have $1 million to put into gold on the day. I didn't have that much extra money, but I did put the little funds I did have, and they tripled, and it's still going up. So, those kind of things you can anticipate with certain kind of policies like tariffs. Tariffs have never said to be good by any other prior president, but MAGA and Trump seemed to want to do an experiment to see how it would turn out. Well, it turned out the same. It was bad, But in any case, let's start off with the news, the general news. I want to see what's going on, and then we're going to get back to Scott Riley. And now this is This is legacy media. So maybe you're one of those people that think that legacy media always lies about every single thing. And if that was the case, then you probably don't want to be one of the people that listen in right now. You probably want to, close your ears or or go to another channel for the moment. But if you like hearing that anyway, right, then you can stick around and hear it. I mean, I don't think they have something positive to say, but let's hear it. There might be a little bit. There's going to be people that are speaking for Trump, the Trump administration, and then there's going to be people that are not, that are critical of the Trump administration. So let's hear.
He was legally permitted to carry and then shot him, claiming he was a threat. Amid mounting blowback over the incident and ISIS tactics in Minnesota, new signs from the Trump administration that it may be looking for an off-ramp to de-escalate the tensions. First, President Trump telling the Wall Street Journal that his administration is, quote, reviewing everything about the shooting, and announcing on social media that there would be a shakeup in leadership on the ground, with Border Czar Tom Homan now managing ICE operations there. At the White House today, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt signaling that the president himself was distancing himself from allegations made by his top deputies about Preddy.
Regarding Minnesota, on Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security posted that Preddy looks like he wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. Stephen Miller on Saturday posted that, or called Preddy a would-be assassin. Why did administration officials jump to conclusions before an investigation had even been conducted?
This has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the...
They looked at the tape. They all said, we looked at the tape. And then they all began to give their descriptions. And now her excuse is that it was a fast-moving situation. I mean, when is it ever going to be that you're just fucking wrong? When is it ever going to be that? How come this administration's never been wrong about nothing? I mean, you can't get Caroline Leavitt to say that the tariffs backfired on the U.S. You can't get her to say that us attacking verbally and threatening our allies has been positive for the U.S. You can't get her to say that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, been negative. You can't get her to admit that it's been negative on the allies. You can't get her really to admit anything that other people warned would happen if you dare go down this line of attack. You can't get her to really admit that, listen, stealing oil tankers and funding the money to private banks in the Middle East that are attached to Donald Trump's name, that's not necessarily the way you want to go about it if you want to look like you're doing it for your country or to save a country or to save a people, right? Or doing it for democracy. If you do it, if you do that, it looks like you're doing it for your own self-enrichment. She doesn't go down this line of inquiry. And here, she won't even admit that, damn, they went out there and described the guy as a person who looked like a killer. Looked like he came to commit massive harm on. So in other words, everybody that carries a weapon, a legal weapon, right, will be seen this way if you do not support Trump. You could have the same exact weapon that a MAGA supporter has. If you happen to show up anywhere in public at any time and have an opinion that differs from Trump, you are seen as a person that came to kill people. You just can't be exercising your Second Amendment right. No, that's being stripped away, as what I told folks. And listen, they're going to attempt to strip some people's, I'm telling you, this administration, it's just a guess. I don't know. Don't go back and say, I told you to do something. My guess is this administration is going to try to institute martial law, is going to try to go into some sort of emergency state thing so that they do not have to relinquish power. And it's not that it's about Trump. It's about the people that have power. It's a group. They don't, maybe similar to the group that Sasha was talking about, rich billionaires that beat up on little kids. You don't know. They know that they will be thrown in jail if they relinquish power. It's not just Trump, it's the people around Trump, and the easiest way for them to get around an election and having a new power vote themselves in, right? Or be voted in by the people, selected by the people according to the Constitution. In order to avoid that, they will try to, stop the elections. And one way that they're going to stop the elections is by doing these things right now, sending out military to states that don't support Trump and trying to have these military people in the end, they will end up harassing voters. In the end, they will end up arresting people. Like, think about this. They will try to arrest folks. I mean, they're going to do anything. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm not saying it's logical, because of course, everyone sees through it. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just used all these things, to create a martial law, so then he doesn't have to have an election. Trump has already said that. He said if they have martial law, they don't have an election. And I don't know how much of you have read about this. They also can suspend your weapons, the Second Amendment. They can suspend it under martial law temporarily. You see what I mean? And so this administration is not orthodox. It doesn't see the Constitution in the normal ways that other presidents have seen it. It has seen it as, I need to. The Constitution has outlined certain elements or certain acts that can occur only if this situation actually happens. And so what they do is they move to make sure that situation happens. Then he can justify what he wants. But listen, they're afraid of the American people. The American people are pissed off, and the American people are armed. What you going to do about that if you were Donald Trump? If the American people were pissed off at the billionaires, and these American people are armed, and the American people are armed more than the citizens of China and Russia put together, what you going to do about it if you don't like the American people and they armed? If the American people are pissed off about you, what you going to do about it? See, that's where you have to think. What would they do about it? And I'm telling you what they would do about it.
Conclusions.
If they wanted to do something about it, if they wanted to stop those American people, I'm telling you what they would do about it. They've already said it themselves.
Or an investigation had even been conducted.
This has obviously been a very fluid and fast-moving situation throughout the weekend. As for President Trump, whom I speak for, he has said that he wants to let the investigation continue and let the facts lead in this case.
Levitt's comments coming, as I mentioned, after top administration officials first responded to the shooting with unsubstantiated accusations that Preddy was plotting to kill federal immigration officials.
When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that...
Look at that. So notice what she's saying, ideological reasons. So standing up, just following the Constitution is an ideology now. It's not what everyone's supposed to do. See, this is where they mix words. If you just want your rights to be upheld, now that's called an ideological belief, like terrorism. Now that's called terrorism. They're literally calling people that do follow the Constitution terrorist. If you just happen to follow First Amendment, you're a terrorist. Second Amendment, you're a terrorist. This is the one word they seem to go to every time they confront somebody.
That is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers.
But he wasn't there to stop it. You see, that's the thing. Protests are not there to stop that actual thing. If you're doing something lawful, protests are not there to stop any lawful act. And here's the thing. Law enforcement can commit a crime. Did you know that? That's the whole point of the First Amendment. You see what I'm saying? Being able to speak out against the injusticeness. Now, here's the thing. Can you violate someone's Fourth Amendment right, search and seizure? Can you do that or not? Can you do it in the United States of America or not? Well, these officers have been violating search and seizure. These officers have been violating all kinds of shit. First, second, fourth, fifth, what else? Just randomly at will. And she's trying to make it seem like the demonstrators are not there because they know that that's happened and that they're now concerned about it. So this man came with a camera to document what they're doing. you know, and that was the problem they had. They don't want documentation of who they are and what they are doing. That is just what they are up to. They're wearing masks. That means they don't want to be seen when they commit a crime. Why? Because it is harder to hold them accountable. They have been ordered to wear masks for that reason. Two, the same people that told them to wear the mask are the same people ordering them to violate First Amendment, Second, Fourth, Fifth. That's what they're doing. You see what I mean? So, yeah. What do you expect people to do? And these are the same people that were part of Jan 6. They believed that they had the right to storm the Capitol with weapons, kick in the door, maim and beat police officers, and threaten to kill the vice president if he doesn't overturn the election. This is the ideology she follows, that she has the right to do that, to overturn an election. It all happened on camera. It's all been researched. It's all been documented. It's all been stated by the president that was the goal. He wanted Mike Pence to overturn the election. They've all stated it. And the people that were in the crowd on Jan 6 all stated it too, that that's what they were there for.
Committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
On Meet the Press yesterday, Minnesota's Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar accused the Trump
What's up, via airship? I see you.
Administration of trying to gaslight the American people about what happened.
When I hear the officials from the Trump administration describe this video in ways that simply aren't true, I just keep thinking, your eyes don't lie. You know, the American people aren't sitting at a Trump cabinet meeting having to say everything to make him happy. They're going to make their own judgments. ICE needs to leave our state. They are making us less safe, not more safe.
Some Republicans now joining calls for a transparent investigation into what happened. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy tweeting the events in Minneapolis are incredibly disturbing. The credibility of ICE and DHS are at stake. President Trump, meanwhile, announcing today that he'd spoken with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz in what he described as a very good call. In a statement, Governor Walz called the conversation productive. We are covering this from all angles. NBC's Morgan Chesky will join us shortly from Minneapolis. NBC's Monica Alba is outside the White House. Also with us, NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter, NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley, and NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris. Let's start at the White House. Monica, what are they saying today about the shooting in Minneapolis? Does it seem like they're walking back any of their rhetoric from over the weekend?
Well, there is a notable shift in tone and in some of the responses here, Ryan, just 48 hours since that fatal shooting on Saturday. In those initial moments, those responses from DHS in particular and from other top officials are now being completely distanced by the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, to say that between the president and herself, they...
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's coming to an end, folks. It's coming to an end. And somebody's going to have to pay the piper. You know, you cannot just go out into communities and openly violate people's First, Second, Third, Fourth, Fifth Amendment, even threaten to overturn the 14th Amendment. You know, this administration has threatened everything about American life. Everything, every right that you have is in one of those amendments. And they've threatened to use any of it. They've threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act to stop elections. This is what they really have been up to. You know, they've threatened to institute martial law. You see what I mean? Just because you want your rights upheld. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, it's coming to an end. And look, it's only two possibilities, if you ask me. This country is either going to crumble because of Donald J. Trump, or people are going to prosecute everybody involved with Donald J. Trump. And it looks like it's going to be the prosecution part when Donald J. Trump starts separating himself from the people he hired.
They could not necessarily back or endorse some of those.
And that's going to be a good goddamn day.
Those initial assessments and from other top officials are now being shift in tone and in some of the responses here, Ryan, just 48 hours since that fatal shooting on Saturday. In those initial moments, those responses from DHS in particular and from other top officials are now being completely distanced by the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt to say that between the president and herself, they could not necessarily back or endorse some of those initial assessments of Alex Preddy. Certainly those comments from White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, labeling him a domestic terrorist, the things that Secretary Noem said about him as well. The White House today saying that there needs to be a complete investigation before conclusions like that could ever be drawn. I thought it was really specific and very notable today in that briefing that you did have Caroline Leavitt, again, essentially saying that she couldn't endorse, and she did essentially say that things had been uttered by the CBP commander, Greg Bovino, by the secretary of the Department.
You see that? That's one of those flash grenades, grenade bombs and shit that they shoot off, tear gas grenades burning in the corner, I had to just look at this. Somebody wrote some stupid ass comment. Your First Amendment doesn't give you the right to yell at somebody in their face. Yes, it does. I don't know what are you talking about? Yeah. So why do the police yell? Why are they yelling when they're kicking in your door? What's that all about? Police. It doesn't make any sense. It actually does give you the right to yell, and it gives you the right to yell with a megaphone too. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up with these people? It gives you the right to demonstrate, and it is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
That could ever be drawn. I thought it was really specific and very notable today in that briefing that you did have Caroline Leavitt, again, essentially saying that she couldn't endorse.
You see that?
And she did essentially say that things had been uttered by the CBP commander, Greg Bovino, by the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, by others, were essentially not things that the president agreed with, that he didn't view that, and that he didn't see Alex Preddy in the same way. Now, remember, it was the president about a week ago who did concede that he believes that ICE is going to make some mistakes sometimes, that that's something that can happen. Remember, he was asked about that in the wake of the shooting of Renee Nicole Good. But what is obviously notable about that is that, again, the president telling the Wall Street Journal he wants to see everything here reviewed before he can make any determination. And given those shifts, sending Tom Homan now to be the one to oversee ICE operations on the ground in Minneapolis, and having a productive phone call with Governor Walz, who he was massively criticizing all weekend long, tells you that there is a shift in strategy here from the administration that we need to be paying attention to.
And part of that shift, Monica, appears to be a conversation that happened with the president and Governor Walz. When you take that in the context of the fact that President Trump has just been hammering Governor Walz has returned fire throughout this entire process. What does it say that the two were able to have what appears to be somewhat of an amicable phone call?
Yeah, they called it a good conversation. They both said it was productive. Governor Walz, in his readout, essentially said that the president was open to reducing the number of federal agents on the ground. The White House confirming that, saying that if certain criteria are met, that is a possibility, that there could be a reduction of the record number of federal agents that were sent to Minneapolis in recent weeks. But it really, the fact they're having a conversation at all, Ryan, is very notable. These are two people who have been extremely critical. It has been an extremely acrimonious relationship. But today they are saying that they're going to continue working together, that there could be future conversations on the horizon, and pledging, I think, really from both of their parts to try to de-escalate here in a clear, it seems, search for some kind of off-ramp after what we saw happen this weekend.
And
Ronan, what's up? I see you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Peace out to you. Thanks for coming in on the stream too. Appreciate you.
We talked about the fact that the president said
everybody give Ronan a big up also.
That he's going to send the border czar Tom Homan to Minneapolis. Does this tell us anything about DHS Secretary Noem's stand?
Yeah, Cindy, you don't practice on humans. You don't practice on, what is this? Fucking goddamn, science lab or something? I'm sorry, but animals have more rights than what citizens are being given right now. You know what I mean? Not that animals have a lot of rights under Trump either, but I mean, typically they would, and it's just so sad to see this administration try to gaslight people. Listen, and And make no mistake about it. I mean, they have some there's international implications, not just financial, not just security, right? Security can be broad, what that means. You know, that could be food security, that could be financial security, that could be security against attacks, physical violence of other countries. You know, there are people in war right now, if you don't remember, right? And it's sad to see this administration try to take this culture war thing, right? Try to insist that because every American doesn't feel like they are the same culturally from another American, right? Whatever that means, whatever it means, right? What does culture mean? What is your culture, right? I would argue, you have the same culture. You just don't realize you can have culture and bitch about shit too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can have culture and be ignorant or intelligent. Like, what does that mean? But these people literally think that freedom of choice, control over your own body, is something to be against. Like, that's really, if you ask me, what it comes down to. Every single time they don't want a woman to control her own body, to be able to go to a doctor, have a doctor tell her, I think you need, if you want to be honest, you may need to have an abortion, because if not, if you try to give birth to this fetus, this fetus is going to kill you, could kill you first. And they're like, no, fetus still has a heartbeat. It's exhuming toxins, but it still has a heartbeat. God damn it. Sorry. Can't do that. They literally want to stop women from making those own choices, their own choices, over their own lives that only they have to live out. Now, you know, these same people, it's the same way about somebody else. Listen, me, I love my body. I love who I am. You know, I love how I was born, and I love everything about my life. If you notice me, you know, obviously you don't know me, but I'll put it to you this way. I don't believe in tattoos. I don't have one tattoo. I don't believe in holes in my body. I don't have one hole. I don't have an earring. I don't have anything. None of this. I don't do any of that. Why? That's my personal belief. How I want to die is how I came into this world. That's how I want to die. You see what I'm saying? And I feel like that gives me power. But that's my choice about my life. I should not be caught up in what somebody else's choice is about their own life. I do not live myself. But that's what this regime wants to have a culture war over. They want to be able to tell other people who they are. They want a person like me to go around and say, no. Who you are is this. They want me to tell my kids who you're this. I'm not telling my kids who they are. My kids, I'm just helping my kids grow and explore the world for who they already are, for who they are themselves. I provide them protection in the home. I provide them a caring hand when they fall on the ground. I provide them caring words when someone else says something nasty to them. These kind of things, you know, that's part of the nurturing process. But I'm not dictating to them who they are. You see what I mean? Or how they should feel. You know what I mean? I'm listening for them telling me how they feel. And that's a total different thing. That's called freedom. And you have to understand that. In the 1700s, did you know people didn't have those freedoms? No, you didn't have that freedom. You would get your ass whipped. And not just slaves, by the way. Just a free person. A child was getting whipped in the 1700s. Any child was getting their ass whipped. You know what I'm saying? If they did not believe in, you know, something like the Bible, for example, if they disagreed, you get whipped. I mean, I'm just telling you like it is. And this country wants to take us back. And this administration wants to take us back into all these ludicrous things when no, man, it's just about freedom of choice, having the right to choose yourself. And if someone is willing to say, hey, you believe you have your own religion, I don't really care about that. That's something George Washington said, by the way. I don't want to argue with you about who your God is. That's what he said. I'm here to talk about how the government should work. You see what I mean? I want to be a president for everybody. That's what George Washington said. And somehow we're back in 250 years later talking about I have the right to tell you these things. It's just too much. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be able to do that with people that pay taxes. Now, I'm not saying there shouldn't be any law and order, but identity and how identity is formed is usually by the individual. You don't get to form another person's identity. That's not how it counts in human rights. I don't get to say how you should identify. You get to say that to the world. But in any case, let's hear some more.
Within the administration.
Well, according to the White House, she still has the full trust and confidence of the president, but it certainly does raise some questions about how they view the overall leadership structure when it comes to massive immigration policy.
I mean, this whole thing is about, they're trying to say that they started this whole thing by trying to say illegal immigrants vote. Illegal immigrants can vote. Listen, if you're not an American citizen, already by law, you can't vote in federal elections. You can't vote for a congressman. You can't vote for a senator. You know, anything that is paid for through federal tax dollars, you can't vote for. You can vote on the state level. That's it. But you can't vote for the president. You see what I mean? And they literally told people this over and over and over as an excuse to try to go in and harass minorities now. Literally just harass them. And if you notice, it's only in blue states where they're sending them to. So that tells you flat out that they're not worried about immigrants voting in Texas. They're not worried about immigrants. Well, maybe not Texas. I don't know. But in a lot of places in red states, they all of a sudden, places that are closer to the areas where they claim all these immigrants just walk over the border, they're not worried about these folks. You see what I'm saying? And they're going up into places that really, they just manufactured a problem. The only difference between an illegal immigrant and how they look from a legal one is the paperwork. That's the only difference. The only difference from an illegal immigrant and a United States citizen is the paperwork. Most American citizens' ancestors come from somewhere else on earth, not America. So if you want to harass Americans, you concoct a plan and an excuse that gives you broad ability to harass all Americans. So what would that be? That would be something about immigrants. Then you get to go around and harass everybody. Now they're even bringing it further and they're saying you need a passport to prove you're an American citizen. Most American citizens don't have passports. I have a passport. I have a passport because I travel, right? I live abroad. So by law, I have to maintain a passport, but also to travel, right? I have a passport. I'm an American citizen that lives outside of the U.S. But most American citizens don't have a passport. Never had a passport. You see what I mean? So now they're telling you that it's not your birth certificate. Now that your state doesn't have the right to identify you, to create an ID that works for you. They did this like 10 years ago. They made everybody get a new kind of state ID. You know, they went through this and now they're telling people that the same state IDs that they made everyone get in every state, now that doesn't count. Now you got to get a passport. That's literally what they're doing. That's literally what they're doing. And in the end of this, the numbers won't match up. The numbers won't justify anything. They tried to say that getting rid of immigrants is going to get more jobs for American people. American people have less jobs. The fact of the matter is most of these immigrants, illegal immigrants, quote unquote, were doing jobs that most Americans don't want. The problem is somewhere else. The problem could be in proximity to citizens and illegals or immigrants. The problem could be somewhere in proximity because every problem in the United States is in proximity to all of those groups because all of these people live together. But that doesn't mean that the direction that this country took or the administration took is the right direction that positively affects most people. They took the direction that positively affects the billionaires right off the bat. Everyone else is forced to live in chaos because of it. You know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Eric, what's up, bro? Dylan, I see you. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Real decisions are being made. Tom Homan is not somebody who has been involved in the day-to-day decision making or operations, specifically when it.
Tom Homan, for people that don't know, that before he was appointed, the FBI, 2 years ago, the FBI had an investigation on Tom Homan where they documented that on a video tape that he took a bribe for $50,000 in cash in a paper bag. That's what they documented about immigrants, about, whether police are going to take some action against immigrants or not. It's ridiculous. Hold on. Let me just pull that up for people so folks don't think I'm just yapping here and yapping. I know a lot my normal listeners know I'm not just yapping, but there's new listeners too that need to be reassured of that also. And no matter what you do, constructive criticism is always good, and I'm always willing to pull up references based on what I'm speaking on. So let's see here. Has Tom Homan, I don't even know if I think it's whole man. Is it? Been accused of accepting bribes. Let's just say it like that. So it's broad in case we miss more than, maybe it's happened more than once. Yes, there have been public reports alleging that Tom Homan, it's Homan. Damn, it's not even Holman. It's Homan. Often wrongly written as Tom Homan, like I wrote it, was involved in bribery investigation, but it's important to distinguish between accusations, investigations, and criminal charges. What reports say, multiple reputable news organizations reported that Tom Homan, who serves as Donald Trump's so-called border czar, was recorded on video accepting a bag with $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents in September 2024. In the recorded encounter, because it is recorded, it's already been documented by the FBI that it's been recorded. In the recorded encounter, he allegedly indicated he could help the agents secure federal government contracts if Trump returned to office. Tom Homan has never denied that he accepted $50,000 in cash in a bag. Now, why are you accepting $50,000 in cash in a bag? Why? Anyone can see this is all the information is public. This has been discussed so many times. Is that how you accept your payment for your job? Who accepts cash for a government job? You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is ridiculous. Who accepts cash for a government job? It just makes no difference. And here, let's go. Let me see here. Let me see how many here, let's go down here and see what reports they have here. Let's see. This is a goddamn. Hold on, but if I bring up the congressional record of this, folks won't believe it because they're so partisan. Only Donald Trump can tell the truth. No one else can. Only a rapist can tell the truth today. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let me just pull up legacy media, right? So we can just get around. So we can get around the government. Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, it's been documented, and the man has never said that he did not accept $50,000 in cash because he knows damn well he is in a video accepting $50,000 in cash. Yeah, it's sad. It's pathetic. It is what it is, though. Let me see here. Can we get around this subscription thing real quick? Here we go. So let me pull this up for people. Boom. Articles, right? So you see, this is I mean, when gossip newspaper ends up, can you guys see that? You can't see it. When agencies like The Guardian pick the story up, that's pretty bold. That's pretty bold, actually. Let me see here. Is it here? Am I here? Let me take this off so y'all can see it, actually. Boom, here it is. So this story has been well known since for some time now. Trump border czar Tom Homan reportedly, and it's reported by the FBI, accepted 50. This is the government reporting it. Reportedly accepted $50,000 in cash from undercover alleged undercover FBI agents. You see, so that's the problem. Alleged handoff occurred before Trump won second presidency, after which administration killed the federal corruption case. So it was a case already in action by the U.S. government. So the only people that will get around this are partisan people that simply believe everybody that was in government before Trump exists and everyone else besides Trump is a criminal in U.S. government history. And the only real person to believe is with inside of a Donald J. Trump administration. These are the only people that would think this is a lie. You see what I'm saying? And it's just ridiculous. I mean, and this is not even the only story. This is not even this has been going on in legacy media. Everyone knows this story. I mean, let me go down and for a second and show you how many articles there are about this. I mean, MSN, this is 2025. This is September though. So, but the stories came out before that. Look, you get The Guardian, right? What is this? California News, Yahoo. Okay. Katu, AOL.com, right? Here we go. Yeah. So there's and it goes back even further than 2025. People have been talking about this for a while. New Republic, who else? Japan Times, right? Economic Times, Boston.com, MS Now again. Right. Even India Today got a story on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, right. This is the guy. Yahoo.com again, investing.com, independent.co.uk, 2 articles, house.gov. I mean, you know, these are the people for this. I'll pull this one up for the people that are partisans and believe that there's only one party that can lie. And they will always believe it's always the Democrats. So, but keep in mind the House, anyway, I'm not even going. For people that don't do their research, I can only explain so much. Judiciary Democrats press Trump Vance transition team, right? This is what they wanted to know before Trump took office. Who knew about it? When did they know about it? And why was Homan appointed board of czar anyway? So the House, they're not even questioning whether Tom received this money. They already knew that he did because it's the FBI who said that he did. It's an FBI case where they reportedly themselves have a video of it. The video has been hidden. Trump refused to release it. You went questioning about it. So they've been blocking this like they've been blocking a lot of other, just like they've been blocking the Epstein files videotapes, just like they've been blocking the Epstein file. This is one of the things about corruption that they've been blocking, you know? Let's see here. This is on the House Judiciary Committee's page, you know? So let me put that link in the chat also. I mean, this is just for people to know. I mean, I already knew about this, but oh damn, is the link too long? Let me see here. Oh right, I see something. It's because I'm using ChatGPT. Hold on. Let me do this. I'm gonna open this link up and then I'm gonna copy it. 2 seconds, y'all. Sorry about that. Hopefully this link will be shorter that I get. Then I can put it in there, the official House's page. Boom. Let's see here. What? Well, I don't think it's going to make it in, all of it, you guys. I'm not sure why. It's because the way that the link is showing up. Hold on. Let me do one more thing. Boom, boom. All right. Let me just do something here. Is it coming up differently because of this? Yeah, it's because it's a long, it is a long link from the House. So you're going to have to, let me see. Can I do it? If I do it like this, can I show the link somehow? How can I show the link somehow? Yeah, I know what I got to do. I got to put this up on my page real quick. 2 seconds. I'm going to put it up on the page, on the website page here. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see here. Post. All right. So it's up now, right? And if you go to the pages element of my YouTube page, just go to the link up here at the top that says pages. I don't know how many can see that, but then you will get back to that. You will be able to see that one. Yeah, here we go. So, but it's in the YouTube pages. It's in my YouTube page link called Pages. So for people that haven't seen it yet, and yeah, so this has been a question about Tom Homan. The administration has never addressed it. They just covered it up like the Epstein files. They just covered the shit up. And again, they're getting paid by your tax dollars and 6 cents. And if you ask me, I don't understand why people expect so little from their tax dollars. You know, I mean, it's not cheap. The amount of taxes American citizens pay is significant. And that money goes to significant projects, the military, ICE. It goes to Caroline Leavitt's salary, right? So she can come out and basically manipulate and withhold and lie. It goes to Donald J. Trump. It goes to J.D. Vance. It goes to a lot of institutions and individuals, government employees. But for some reason, when it comes to things for the American people that the American people actually want, I don't know if the tax dollars go there. So
when it comes to Minneapolis, he's been key in some other aspects of creating and executing on immigration policy. So the fact that he's going to go there, and certainly the press secretary was asked today whether this means that Greg Bovino will be departing. She said it will clearly be Tom Homan who is the point of contact on the ground there as we work to figure out whether Bovino will be out, though Noam for now still seems to be in her capacity in her job.
Okay, Monica, thank you for that. Let's turn now to Tom Winter as we look closer at this video, Tom, and we should warn our viewers. It is pretty disturbing to watch. But the DHS Secretary Noam claimed that the individual approached border control with an automatic handgun.
I see you,
but when you actually look at this video, walk us through this. How does what we're actually seeing compare to what the secretary said?
45.
Right, Ryan, and I think she mentioned it was a semi-automatic handgun, and I know shortly we're going to be able to show you some of that video from the scene and some of the video that bystanders took. There's 4 specific videos and 4 specific angles that show the interaction, and it does not seem to indicate that at any point in time Preddy's gun was out. This is one of the videos that establishes kind of how this whole thing starts, and you can see there his left hand is in the air. There appears to be nothing in that hand, and then in his right hand, we're going to look at it again, appears to be a cell phone, which he later puts back in his pocket, not near where it appears that his gun was taken from by. And in his right hand, we're going to look at it again.
I mean, he has 2 hands up right there. He's got one hand is empty, and the other hand, I believe this is the hand that he would grab his gun from, has a camera in it. It has his cell phone in it. So, you know, yeah.
Appears to be a cell phone, which he later puts back in his pocket.
Oh, it is a cell phone, and it's definitely not a gun.
Not near where it appears that his gun was taken from by CBP officers at the scene. So this video shows the moment leading up to it. There's a protester or somebody videoing who's pushed to the ground. Look, these are very volatile situations. We have the advantage now of looking at these videos. You're looking at the point that I was referencing when the gun is taken out from his back waistband, and then
yeah, I hear you, 6 cents. I mean, tune out for a second. You know, it's just for people that haven't seen it. You know, some people haven't seen it yet, and there's some highlights here. I mean, look, I've seen it all. This is the point where they're showing the agent grab the gun from him. Right now, he has his back turned to the agent. He's on his knees. He's going, and the agent is grabbing his gun. Right, and then after he grabs the gun, then all of a sudden they shoot him in the back. And he turns around. You know, they shoot him several times in the back. Then he turns around and falls on his back. You see, they shoot him and he kind of turns like that and falls on his back. I don't know if somebody was pushing him or what the deal was, but he fell on his back. Maybe, yeah, I don't know why. Maybe he was attempting to move or something, but then they shot him more once he was on his back. I mean, it's terrible. The gun was holstered. He didn't reach for his gun. That's clear. His hands are on the ground. His hands are not near his gun. He wasn't even thinking about his gun. if he was thinking about his gun, they would have been shot. It's very simple. It doesn't take long to grab your gun. It's plenty of other instances where they've said, oh, the person grabbed their gun. I shot him. This case, they don't even say that he grabbed his gun. They're not even claiming anymore that he grabbed his gun. They're now trying to claim that he came with an ideology. And so the ideology of democracy and Second Amendment, and you add that to he was at the demonstration, means he was planning on shooting people in a terroristic fashion. You know, this is what they're claiming now. And of course, that should be scary for any American, no matter what your political party is, because that can be used against you at any time. Possessing a weapon and having a Facebook, possessing a weapon, having social media, possessing a weapon and having a bumper sticker, possessing a weapon and having on a song that promotes the ideology of a political or not even political, of Americanness, you can now be seen as a terrorist. Having a printout of the Bill of Rights, you can be seen as a terrorist right now by their logic. You know, so people should wake up from this. Like, stop being so partisan and just respect the fact of citizens that all people have under the Bill of Rights. Just accept it, because keep in mind, these rights were given to you to protect you from a totalitarian government. These rights were instilled because people didn't have it under the British government. This is what the whole shit was about. This is what the War of Independence was about. People having fucking rights. And it wasn't a Mexican they were scared of. It wasn't a Jew they were scared of. It wasn't a homo they were scared of. It wasn't a transsexual they were scared of. It wasn't a Muslim they were scared of. It was the King of Britain. That's who they were fucking pissed off at and scared of. That's who they wanted that's who they revolted against to get civil rights. People are going to give it all up right now.
And after this, the shots, somebody yells out gun, and then the shots are fired, including the fatal shots that hit Preddy. This is a very volatile situation. We are watching this with the advantage of slow motion.
It was the King of England.
With the advantage of pausing things. You can't pause things in real life. And the burden legally will come back to whether or not the person who fired the shots, the CBP officer who initially fired the shots, whether or not they thought that they had a reasonable threat to their life. But certainly this individual appears to be unarmed at the moment that happens. That's what the video shows. And there were a number of things that were stated about the motive and the background of this individual that, frankly, people in law enforcement and even people, former people who used to work for DHS have raised is serious credibility and transparency concerns as far as the things that were said by this administration over the weekend.
And even though the White House does appear to be walking this back a bit, we've heard multiple administration officials repeatedly label Alex Preddy as a domestic terrorist. Is there anything to back up that claim? What kind of evidence would you need to prove something like that?
Well, what they typically say is that if somebody uses violence or coercion to push forward their ideology, that's the definition of a domestic terrorist. And that's true. What we haven't seen here is any evidence, at least any evidence that we can publicly find. And of course, these videos that we've been looking at show just as...
What's the ideology? What is the ideology? So is the ideology the First Amendment? I mean, the Bill of Rights. Is your belief that your Bill of Rights should apply to you every place you are? Is that now an ideology? Freedom of speech. Is that an ideology now, or is that your right? You see, so is Second Amendment your right, or is it an ideology? Which one is it? And this has been the tone of the administration the whole time, trying to question norms and rights that people have had for hundreds of years. This is what they're trying to do now to make it turn into oops, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it wasn't intended to be interpreted that way. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something else. You know, and this is the same tone that the Supreme Court has taken when they said, what does it mean that a person charged of insurrection or a person accused of insurrection can never be president, can never run for office? Does it mean what Trump did? Was that an insurrection, or was that something else? Now you find out what it means. Now people find out what it means. Yeah, it meant for people like Trump, he shouldn't be allowed to run again for office or take office. Not even run again. You shouldn't be allowed to take office. Fuck if you run. If you were part of an insurrection, you should never be allowed to hold office. It doesn't matter if you run. You know what I mean? And what did the Supreme Court do? Everything else. You see what I mean? The whole system shifted, you know? So this is where you're at now, where everyone that has a gun, right? This administration is now, through a technicality, going to remove your Second Amendment right. That's what they're going for. Will they be able to tell who you are? You know, because we know they can't tell who an illegal immigrant is from an American citizen. They can't tell by look. So how's this going to play out by look in your car when they pull you over? How's this going to turn out when they stop you in the middle of the street? How's it turning out for police officers? There's already police officers been stopped by and detained by ICE. How's it going to turn out? When is it going to be enough? When are people going to stop living with the lunacy and the fallacy? You know, and look at what happened to, is it going to be a Charlie Kirk moment where a person like Charlie Kirk is like, yeah, all these deaths, that's what we have for the, you know, these deaths like Columbine and all of this shit. That's what we have to sacrifice for the Second Amendment. That's Charlie Kirk's own words. And he got his neck blown off by a person who grew up in Idaho or in Ohio. I'm sorry. It was at Ohio, right? Is it Ohio? Yeah, Ohio, from a family of Trump supporters. Family of long-lived Republicans, anti-conservative family, blew his goddamn head off. You know what I'm saying? Is it going to be another moment like that? I don't know. You know, you tell me. I don't know, but you know, rest in peace to Alec Preddy, and you know, Renee Good's family. Rest in peace to Renee Good, and you know, the victims. There's also another. I know I also speak about this. There's another brother that was killed a black man that was killed in California. Let me see what was his name. Let me pull this up real quick for folks. And this has been ongoing around the same time, or even right before Renee Good's murder. Let me see. Yeah, outside of his own home. It was an off-duty. His name is Keith Porter. Let me pull up his image also so people can see who he was. Right. I haven't been speaking a lot about him. Right. And let me see, where is it at? But it doesn't make his killing any less than anyone than Renee Good or to Alex Preddy. Maybe in some people's minds it might, and there might be some nuances there, you know, depending on who you are and who you know, what point you're trying to get across. I guess you could say, but this is the man right here. And yeah, and he was killed by an off-duty ICE agent, right? He was killed by an off-duty ICE agent. And yeah, and it says here, family man killed by off-duty ICE agent in LA demands charges. The ache will never go away. The pain will never go away. After Renee Gooding's killing. Okay, this was after. Okay, I didn't know that. In Minneapolis, let me see here. After her killing in Minneapolis, this took place. This is, you know, this is tragic because they did it, and I guess it was close to the time. So a lot of media didn't focus on him, and even myself, but I heard about it. I did hear about this, you know, family and friends of Los Angeles man who was killed by an off-duty U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer over the holidays are urging local officials to arrest and prosecute the federal agent. Keith Porter is his name. Keith Porter Jr., that is. 43-year-old man. He's a father of two, like myself. You know, he's like 12 years younger than me. Rest in peace, Keith Porter. Yeah, rest in peace, man. And you know, thank God Listen, this can happen to any black man in the United States of America at any time, and often does for a lot of different reasons. It doesn't have to be a protest. It can just be on your way home any fucking time. Keith Porter was not at a protest. He was not at a protest. Keith Porter wasn't doing any of these things that these trolls out here say about Renee Good or Alex. Why wouldn't you just go home and mind your business? Well, Keith Porter was at his home minding his fucking business. Wasn't good enough, was it? Nope. And this is something black men know. Not only black men, black women know too, right? And I'm not racializing it. And I want to just, there's a reason why I'm saying this is because I already know as a black man, if I'm always talking about black people's issues, that's not going to get through to everybody, sadly enough, because the dynamic of this how can I say this type of campaign against American citizens is about division. So if we only acknowledge ourselves or people that are grouped into that, look, that racial group, if we only talk about the suffering that exists from one side of the coin, it will be used as a divisive tool. So that's why I don't always lean on what's going on with black Americans or African Americans, because that's not, it doesn't mean I don't know, but I just know what this regime is up to. This regime is up to division. And what's going to help kill that division is when we show solidarity with each other. You see what I mean? So I'm doing that, but it doesn't mean that there's not cases like Keith Porter. And we should keep that in mind when we talk about Renee Good, when we talk about Alex Prevey. I mean, it's the perfect thing to discuss because right now, which is why I'm discussing it, by the way, right now. It's not the first time it popped up in my head or anything, but there's a good reason, because look at this. If you just examine this case, this beats the trolls. The trolls busy. And you can go back in the chat. This chat is on replay. Right. This chat is on replay, and the trolls will be telling you shit like, you shouldn't be at a demonstration with your gun. Well, he wasn't at a demonstration with his gun. He was not at a demonstration with his gun. You see? So he was at home. So can you be at home with your gun? Can you be at home with your gun and not get shot? He went outside on New Year's and shot a couple of rounds off, which is normal in that part of town. Normal in California, perfectly legal, totally legal. Off-duty ICE agent that's not from that place, obviously wasn't aware of that. Went outside, went inside. He witnessed it. He went inside and put on his tactical gear, came outside and shot this man in front of his own home. So this story is very relevant right now. Given all the excuses of Kristi Noem, given all the excuses of, Kash Patel, given all the excuses of Donald J. Trump, given all the excuses of J.D. Vance, given all the excuses of Caroline Leavitt, given all the excuses of Kristi Noem, given all the excuses of these treasonous. He was at home. He wasn't part of the demonstration. He wasn't advocating for his first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 12th, 100th, and 50th fucking Bill of Rights amendments. He was at home. He was at home. He was at home. New Year's Eve with his family. So what's the excuse now? What's the excuse now? So can you be safe? Does this government have a position on African Americans being safe in their own fucking country where their fucking ancestors sweat blood and tears? Is there any guarantee of that? Or is it just none of this shit applies when you're dealing with a nigga? You know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with a nigga, fuck the excuse about he was at a protest. We don't need that excuse anymore. Fuck the excuse about, him causing trouble, going to a demonstration. We don't need that anymore. No. What's the excuse about him being home with his fucking kids on New Year's? What's that excuse? So we know that this is all bullshit excuses. We know this is going to be an excuse. about him. There's not going to be any swift prosecution of the brother here. No, won't be any swift prosecution for him going on. There won't be any swift prosecution for Renee Good. There won't be any swift prosecution for Alex Preddy. We know this. And any other killed by this administration. We know that already. This is just a game. This is just a game just to see if the administration one day is going to live up to its own fucking words. You know, this is just a game. And let me tell you, the evidence is there already that this administration does not plan on living up to any fucking thing it says ever, any fucking way. It does not plan on upholding the rights of any American citizen. Period. It is anti-American citizen. It is pro-wealthy American citizen. Has nothing to do with your background. Nothing to do with your sexuality. Donald Trump, you already heard Sasha say Donald Trump liked to take it in the ass. Basically. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You already heard that these people are way beyond your level. They don't care who goes in what toilet. Those are problems for little people to argue about and be divided over. That's how they see this shit. You see what I mean? So a brother like myself already knows. My question is, how many Americans are going to know? How many does it take? How much evidence does it take before you realize these people don't give a fuck about you? They don't care about your maggot ass. They don't give a fuck about your maggot mother's ass or your maggot father's ass or your maggot child's ass either. This is going to hit these stories, these lies that they present to the public are for everyone. If you haven't caught up to that yet, it's because you're not listening in detail. They don't like you. They're coming for your regular wage job, middle class families. They're coming for you, whether you liberal, whether you maggot. They're coming for the poor. They want to eliminate you. They want to erase you. They are scared of you because you have gun rights. Other countries, totalitarian governments don't allow their people. Authoritarian governments in Russia, they don't allow the public to have all the weapons that American citizens have. They don't allow that in China either. You see? So these billionaires in the United States with all these fancy weapons that are paid for by the American citizens, they want them. They want those weapons to themselves. That's what they want. So, yeah, you know, let's see. Hopefully, and I hope I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will say, hey, hoorah, damn, that was a close one. No problem with that. No problem with that at all. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm right, a lot of people are going to be hurt if I'm right. So, yeah, we will see.
A specific moment in time that we have not yet seen any body-worn camera video that our colleague Julia Ainsley reports does exist. And so we don't have any sort of statements that may have been made by Preddy or not, any sort of statements that were made by the CBP officers or not. And so we don't have anything here that goes to motive for him even being there and what, if anything, he said. And so it's very difficult to get to the point of ideology.
Well, we know the motive. We know there's any motive they find is a bullshit motive, because soon as you ask the story about what about Keith Porter, none of those excuses about a motive exist. None of them exist. They don't exist. Keith Porter, ask him about the motive. As soon as you pivot over to Keith Porter, guess what's going to happen? Keith Porter, any motive? Does that motive exist for, is that why he got shot? Now they have to go to something else. Well, Keith Porter was smoking a joint. His neighbor said that earlier that day he went to the liquor store and had an argument with the kiosk man, with the man at the corner store over how much a Red Bull costs.
If you don't know somebody's ideology going into an operation like this. And so I think that's the reason why people have picked out the domestic terrorist line and said, how do you, on one hand, you're not saying you quite know the sequence of events and you're reviewing the footage. On the other hand, you're saying the motivations and the background of this individual who apparently has interactions with law enforcement in the form of 4 traffic tickets. So it's a bit incongruous, and that's something I think a lot of people are looking at.
All right, Tom, you mentioned Julia's great reporting. Let's bring Julia in now to talk about it. Julia, you're reporting that there actually is body camera footage, which is not always a guarantee when it comes to these interactions between ICE and CBP and folks on the ground. What kind of information could that potentially provide?
Well, and obviously, if I had that, I'd be sharing it with you. But we understand this just got handed over to investigators, and they're combing through.
Look at this. I mean, I don't understand listen, somebody in the chat said he shot at an off-duty officer. Margaret, what state do you live in, and who is your health care provider in that state? Since you can't confirm that comment, I'm just curious if you're a troll. So, Margaret, yeah, are you one of these paid trolls? To prove that you're not a paid troll, let us know what state you're in and who the health care provider is. I'm just curious about that, and for those of you that might want to get it mistaken, no, he did not. There's no news outlet. There's no statement from anybody that says he shot right at an agent. This is what DHS says. OK, just so you understand it. So nobody gets it twisted. DHS says something completely different from Margaret. OK. According to official statements from Department of Homeland Security, DHS, as reported by multiple mainstream outlets, also Margaret, the off-duty U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE agent, who was not on duty, confronted Keith Porter after hearing what he believed were gunshots near his North Ridge, Los Angeles apartment on New Year's Eve. That's what DHS says. DHS does not say that the agent said that he shot at him. Simple. So get it through your thick head. Stop spreading lies. Okay, because lies have implications. And if you don't care that lies have implications, then I hope you find out yourself and that your life is harmed because of a lie. How about that? Okay, since you don't give a shit. Okay, the agent left his apartment with his service weapon after hearing suspected gunfire. So he wasn't even outside. He wasn't even outside when it happened. How could he be shooting at him? Then he encountered Porter, a black man, outside holding what appeared to be a long rifle. Okay, the official account states the agent identified himself as law enforcement and ordered Porter to put down the rifle. DHS claims that Porter pointed the rifle at the agent and refused to comply, after which the agent fired. So he doesn't even say he fired at him. So I'm sorry, Margaret, you spread a lie. So there you have it. There you got it. That's it. We're not going to play this game anymore. Yeah. So people need to get out there and just, hold themselves to just what is really being said by the government and what is being said by news outlets and witnesses. OK, but in this case, it's very simple. Here, let me see here. People can go to different outlets if they want, but this is what DHS says, and it's not an article, it's multiple articles because multiple agencies are reporting on what DHS actually said and others. So yeah, this is crazy, it's just crazy, but in any case, let's go on here. Let's go on.
For it now, because they'll be able to see the different.
Oh, but no surprise. I did tell you that they're always going to try to find an excuse for why your Second Amendment rights are going to be violated. So with Alex, this is interesting because Margaret shows that, right? She shows that no matter what, there is always an excuse for someone with their gun at a rally or someone at a rally or someone just for some reason being shot by an ICE agent. The guy's in front of his own home. There it is. Does what the family say matter? Do witnesses, does anything matter from them according to a person like Margaret? No. And this is the case in all these shootings. What witnesses say doesn't matter. What family says doesn't matter. What's on camera doesn't matter. What matters is whether you look a certain way, whether they believe you're a Trump supporter or not. That's pretty much what matters to them. You got to look a certain way, and you got to have a certain politic. If you have a different politic, they're allowed to come at you with anger and aggression and violence, and even people like Margaret will make an excuse for it,
Angles and what exactly it was that the agents saw when they decided to fire those shots. Now, a body-worn camera goes right in the center of the chest of the gear that the agent would be wearing, and it's rolling really from the time they start engaging. So it would have been rolling when they started that arrest that they were trying to do on a target right near the place of the shooting. That's when the women that Preti was with started blowing their whistles, and that's when Preti got involved. So they would have already had their cameras rolling before that arrest even began, and it's from different angles. And so we'll be able to see, hopefully, or investigators will be able to see at least, that when they removed the gun from Preti and whether or not it aligns with those first public statements on Saturday when they said that Preti was violently resisting being disarmed. And so as it looks like from some of the videos I reviewed and Tom's reviewed, that the gun was actually taken away before the shots were fired, that will all come to light and be part of this investigation. And then that could be enough evidence to then refer this to the Justice Department for a criminal investigation into whether or not the agents criminally violated Preti's civil rights.
So let's talk about what's happening now on the ground. The president announcing that the border czar Tom Homan's going to Minneapolis. What do you make of this decision? Is he someone who could potentially de-escalate the situation there?
Potentially. I mean, Tom Homan for a long time has really had it out for sanctuary cities. He makes, no attempt to cover that up. He thinks all cities should be cooperating with ICE. And of course, that's the situation we're walking into in Minneapolis, where they are not cooperating with ICE and handing over immigrants that they may encounter to the federal law enforcement. But I will also say this has implications nationwide because
Again, I could see somebody in the chat is trying to justify a reason for the officer, a justification that the agent doesn't even make themselves. Again, does even what the agent say matter anymore? No. See, this is proof that what matters in the United States right now is politics. Only politics. Only what political party you're with and how you look, right? So another Michelle, just out of the blue, appears in the chat and says a long rifle shot into the air is even more dangerous than a pistol because bullets fly farther, meaning to gain more speed on the return trip to Earth than okay, sorry, that wasn't the justification for the shooting, though. That's not the claim that the agent is making. That is not the reasoning for him shooting him. So I don't know what you up to. I don't know why you're trying to connect something that the agent and the DHS is not even trying to connect, but it's bullshit. And stop trying to justify the murder of people. Okay? So fuck you. I mean, really, because I'm not stupid. All right. I wasn't born yesterday. So this is my platform. Sorry. You got to have a little bit more empathy for innocent people being killed. Okay? Especially if you're going to be around me. I don't want any goddamn people making up excuses while, well, if he just did this before he got shot 50 times by the police, it would have come out different. Nah, fuck all that. You save that for the people you live around. I live in Denmark. That's not a fucking excuse, okay? I have my health care. My kids go to school. I don't want no excuses like that around me or nobody I have in my family or no one close to me. You know what I'm saying? It's legal. It's legal. It's legal. What the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? It doesn't matter. Why is it legal then? If you're thinking about lives, why the hell is it legal? You know what I'm saying? But it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Homan is replacing as point person there is Greg Bovino, who's been head of all the Border Patrol operations since Los Angeles this summer. If you think about all the times you've seen tear gas thrown into crowds, if you think about big surges in cities like Charlotte, New Orleans, Chicago, Los Angeles, that was all led by Greg Bovino. So Homan being there signifies the White House realizes there was some kind of line crossed in this incident, or perhaps by the responses that they got from Secretary Norman Bovino over the weekend that were very quick to side with law enforcement after this incident before an investigation had been conducted. And somewhere inside the White House and the president himself, they've now made the decision that they would rather have someone like Tom Homan there, who is much more concerned about getting who he calls, the criminals, the worst of the worst on the streets, in that position, and taking out someone like Bovino, who wants to do wide sweeps and often really profile people. And that's been something that they've talked about ever since the Supreme Court ruling determined that they could do that even without specific targeted names of people they're going after. So it's a huge switch really for the White House, and a signal that maybe they think the strategy and the path they were on isn't working.
Okay, we'll see if there'll be any sort of change of course. Julia, we appreciate that. Let's go now to Misty to talk about this from a legal perspective. So, Misty, there were 2 court hearings today related to the situation in Minneapolis.
I mean, listen, y'all, this whole thing about whether it was a long rifle or a short rifle, listen, if that's what it is, then why didn't you implement that in your laws? Why didn't you implement that already? You're the ones that want to have gun rights for everybody. Why isn't it implemented in the law? I mean, it's just that simple. For someone to have the right to say, I have the right to kill you, you must have a reason under the law. Right now, there's no reason. So that's just it. And on top of it, having a long rifle or a short or a handgun isn't a reason. It doesn't matter what state you're in the United States of America, period. And again, that's probably a troll. You don't even know the person. Everybody, listen, when you think you have a troll in the chat, just tell the person, just ask them over and over and over, what state do they live in and who is their health care provider? Because at least it will qualify a little bit of something. We'll all get a chance to know whether this is a real person or if this is just a Russian or some other foreign country person or a MAGA, somebody paid by the Trump administration to create division in the United States of America. Because like I've been saying, what these wealthy people want, right, these wealthy right wingers, is they want a civil war so they can deny everybody their civil rights and basically hoard everything else from everyone else, the working class. So, let's just do that. Everybody that's around and claims to be making any excuse for anything attached to ICE, anything attached to the Trump administration, anytime they lean that way, ask them, what state do you live in and who is your health care provider? And let's listen to the answer, because they should be able to answer that relatively quickly.
The first one on the state's efforts to declare the administration's deployment of federal agents as unlawful. What stood out to you in that hearing today?
So this is interesting because the federal government's argument, the DOJ said that this is a federal law enforcement operation and therefore it falls under executive authority to execute it as they see fit.
People shouldn't worry about, you worry about, I see Dang said, interview. Yeah. And if you Google that information, well, why are you scared? Why are you scared, Dang? I'm not scared. Why are you scared? What are you talking about? I'm a real person. I stand on what I say. I'm not going to bow to any type of death threats or anybody. I don't imagine anybody's going to even dare to think to do a goddamn thing to me or my family. That's how I roll. You know why? Because what happens if you get caught? That's why. You see what I'm saying? So I'm also not stupid. You see what I mean? I think about these things in advance. So I'm just saying, you can't just find out anything about anybody or, and if you want to participate and you want people to take your opinion serious, then you need to qualify something, because we live in a day and age where people are paying for division in social media. That is the reality. Okay? That's the reality you live in. That's the reality that has to be confronted to get to the next phase, to get freedom back. So, it just is what it is. You're going to have to. Alex Preddy, what about his family? He died. Why is his life less valuable than yours? You see what I'm saying? Why is his life less valuable than yours? You're going to let your actions be dictated on whether somebody knows where you live? You're going to let your ability to exert your freedom according to the Constitution be based on whether somebody knows where you live? Like, understand something. You ain't going to stop me from nothing. You're not going to stop me from exerting any one of my rights, period. And I don't give a fuck who you are. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's how I'm rolling. You up in my chat. Understand that. To me, that excuse is only going to get you so far. At some point, you're going to have to take a stand on your own life and your own beliefs.
Now, Minnesota's argument is that it is not a valid law enforcement action. It's actually something being taken to coerce Minnesota into agree.
Okay, let me go back on that.
What stood out to you in that hearing today? To talk about change of course, Julia, we appreciate that. Let's go now to Misty to talk about this from a legal perspective. So, Misty, there were two court hearings today related to the situation in Minneapolis. The first one on the state's efforts to declare the administration's deployment of federal agents as unlawful. What stood out to you in that hearing today?
So this is interesting because the federal government's argument, the DOJ said that this is a federal law enforcement operation and therefore it falls under executive authority to execute it as they see fit. Now, Minnesota's argument is that it is not a valid law enforcement action. It's actually something being taken to coerce Minnesota into agreeing with or implementing federal government and the administration's policies. So that's the crux of the argument. What I found interesting, the judge came out the gate and said, I'm not here to make a decision on the merits of any immigration law enforcement operation, but did challenge the federal government on 2 points that squarely fit into Minnesota's argument. The first being skepticism about whether or not the amount of ICE officers being deployed, use of border security, is necessary to deal with issues with enforcing this law enforcement action. The second, and very, very interestingly, is a letter that Pam Bondi sent to Tim Walz over the weekend, which asks for the state to repeal sanctuary city policies, talks about turning over voter rolls and registrations, records regarding Medicaid that would be central to a fraud investigation. The judge saying, is the DOJ trying to circumvent what would be court-related procedures by pressuring Minnesota with this law enforcement operation? So she did not rule from the bench today. We'll have to wait and see what that decision is. She did say it will be coming imminently. She understands that if there's a front burner, this is on the front of that front burner as far as necessity to get clarity on this issue.
And then we have a second case where state officials are trying to prevent federal officials from destroying evidence in this shooting. What did the judge say about that?
So that hearing just ended, and the judge did not make a decision from the bench. But what Minnesota is asking is for preservation of evidence. The administration, Department of Justice, saying they're preserving evidence as they would in any other case. But the idea is Minnesota is raising what they say are anomalies, things that are not in accordance with typical policies and procedures in this investigation. They're not a part of the investigation on the state side, and therefore it's critical that they at some point have cooperation with the federal government and also have the ability to access that investigative material down the road. So we're still waiting on that decision as well.
Yep, exactly. And of course, if they denied the state that ruling, then they would be playing politics, the judge themselves, because the judge understands very well that it's this administration that has decided to not go by normal standards, right? Deny cooperation with the state. That means right there, you already, as the federal government, are making an accusation about the state. Right. So once you make an accusation about the state, then the state has the right to say, OK, well, you want to make this accusation. We want to make sure that the judge says, since you're making that accusation and you want to do it alone, we now ask that an order be put in that you do not destroy evidence. You know what I mean? Because then they will have to answer to that judge if they do. You see what I'm saying? And I don't get it. But yeah. Yeah, you know.
Okay, Misty Maris, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Coming up, we're sticking with the...
And somebody asked a good question in the chat. Why is Trump sending agents to states that didn't vote for him? And then someone else also said, that's what Flowers said. That's what we have, the law and order, police and ICE. Exactly. Why should I be afraid of of my First Amendment rights over the internet. Why should I be afraid of that? Why should I be afraid? They're supposed to be protecting my rights. Why should I be afraid? And that's going back to what Dang said earlier. If you give out the information about what state you live in and what healthcare provider you have, is your name Dang? I don't know. Listen, maybe if somebody's tracking you down and you think someone's following you around and they got access to your IP address and all of that shit, maybe you got something to worry about. But I'm just telling you straight up, my information is public. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I'm just telling you how I am. Like, I'm not scared. Period. I'm not scared. And you're not going to scare me by death threats. Okay, you're not going to scare me by any type of idea that, if you tell people who you are, they're going to come and take you out. Man, you already finished if that's the case. I mean, that's my view. You're already dead if you think that you need to be hiding from the police while exercising your First Amendment right. Like, part of you is already dead. It's just my opinion. It's just inch by inch how much of yourself you give up, how much of your rights you give up. That in itself, you're saying you're giving up your First Amendment right, because think about it. Your right as an individual is connected to you. But if you don't ever stand on it as an individual, the true person you actually are, then what good is it? What good is it? What good is it that Dang stands on the First Amendment, but the real person, your real name, the person you really are, doesn't? And it's not I'm not just pointing this, making this statement pointed at you. It's just the argument you're making, like, people going to have to stand on who they are. People going to have to stand on what they believe. This is one of those moments right now. You're going to have to stand just like Renee Good stood, just like Alex stood, right? Just like Keith did. You're going to have to stand. That's the moment you're in. You're not going to be able to hide from this moment. This moment is going to come and seek every individual out. So, better to stand up. Better to stand up together than to die separately and as individuals being divided.
Out of Minnesota as it echoes through Capitol Hill, where a standoff over DHS funding and ICE reforms.
Yeah, I mean, ICE, no. All law enforcement, everybody, any government agent is there to protect the citizens. By definition, whether they're doing that is another question. You see what I mean? I'm not saying that they're doing it. I'm saying that they're actively fucking violating and harming citizens, right? Violating our rights and harming us. But by law, they're supposed to be protecting us. You see what I mean? But I mean, when the accusation that is being laid at them is that they're not. The accusation is that they're not protecting us. They're killing us. They're violating our rights. They're not supposed to be violating our rights. But the accusation is that ICE is violating our rights. This administration is actively consumed with violating First Amendment, Second Amendment, 14th Amendment, Fourth Amendment. That's the accusation being laid at them, and the courts agree. There's plenty of people that have been locked up by ICE agents, and the court with. You know how many citizens have been detained by ICE agents while having a weapon, or by National Guard? Do you know how many people had those cases completely thrown out? Completely thrown out just because, first of all, you weren't supposed to stop that person. You didn't have a valid reason to stop them. Do you realize how often that's going on? The federal government cannot uphold that. They have to uphold the Fourth Amendment. Otherwise, it's going to be thrown out. So if you don't follow the law, that's what's happening. It's not even about weapons. Any case about immigration, your status that ends up in the federal courts is being dismissed if you violated their Fourth Amendment right. So when are you going to stop violating people's Fourth Amendment rights? That's the problem here, but yeah, they're not doing their job. They're not doing their job.
Could lead to another, at least partial, government shutdown by the end of the week. Plus, a House Democrat on the committee with direct oversight over federal immigration authorities responds to this weekend's deadly Border Patrol shooting and what Congress does next. You're watching Meet the Press now.
Okay, let me see here.
Welcome back. Saturday's deadly shooting of Alex Preddy has sparked a major change in the strategy for Senate Democrats, who are now effectively threatening a partial government shutdown unless funding for ICE is taken out of the spending bill, which is set to be voted on this week. Senator Chuck Schumer discussing Democrats' strategy in a Sunday conference call, telling his caucus that the message has to be restrain, reform, and restrict ICE. That according to two sources on the call. As others, Democrats made similar arguments on the airwaves yesterday.
Democrats are not going to vote to fund this version of the Department of Homeland Security. But if we can get some serious reforms that saves and protects lives in our cities, then we'll come to the table.
Well, we already know that Republicans are not going to make serious reform. They're not going to do it. They're going to do what they did the last time, blame a shutdown on Democrats. That's what they're going to do. So we can brace for that. I'm also bracing for people that claim to be on the left to take shots at Schumer. Also take shots at Democrats. I mean, me myself, I'm already expecting that to happen. But here's the thing. What is an elected official supposed to do in this situation? Is an elected official that agrees that ICE has been violating the law, putting U.S. citizens in danger, that there's plenty of evidence to suggest it, and plenty of evidence to suggest that they're violating residents and citizens' First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, for all these rights that we have, that we had war of independence over, rights that define who we are as Americans. When you have a government agency that doesn't care about the Bill of Rights, what are you to do as an elected official? Are you to go along with it and keep funding the agency, or are you to risk a shutdown? Right? What is your choice? And in my view, I say shut it down. That's what I say. I say shut it down because listen, they're going to harm more people. They're going to harm more people. This administration, in my view, has shown that it has no care for American citizens whatsoever. Like, period. Like, in my view, this administration has total disdain for the United States of America and all its citizens. And it is only attempting to serve the right-wing billionaire class, which when I say right-wing, I mean they want robots to fucking replace you. That's what I mean. Like, they have hostile, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, they have hostile views and definite intent on harming the average American citizen, regardless of your political view, regardless of any of that. It has something to do with you have rights authoritarians do not want citizens to have. That's what it has something to do with. You see, so as long as you're out there talking about, I want an immigrant out of my country so I can have a better job, they're trying to get rid of anybody working on a damn farm. You know what I'm saying? Better job, they want robots doing that job. Better administrative job, they want a robot doing that job. What the fuck are you talking about, a better job? They already said they want AI doing this shit. And pretty soon, they're going to turn very hostile towards the rest of the world too. You know why? Because they're not going to care how many real Americans join the military. They're trying to segue into drones, robotics, and no ethics at all with the rest of the world. No rules of engagement, where they just get to kill you from a distance and send robots out. I mean, really, this is what they're, if you ask me, this is how extreme the Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance future is. You see what I mean? It's nothing moderate. It's nothing that is about sustainable life for human beings. You see what I mean? This is about sustainable life for billionaire class, you know, which looks totally different. So, yeah, but listen, y'all, I got to be out for now. I know a lot of people wanted me to go back into the Sasha Riley story, obviously. But I got stuck a little bit here on the ICE and what's happening with that in terms of the law. So I just want to wait because I want to make sure I have enough time to do the second part to Riley's story, which is like devastating in itself. I even need a little more time to process it. But but those of you who do have the link, the direct link, let me put that in the chat again so you have a little more time to review it also, right? It's a devastating story that he's putting out in his own words, his account for his time with Donald Trump. So those of you that are listening that have not heard any of this shit, it is insanity. It is so horrible. It's not insanity. It's horrible. Like what he's basically saying is that Donald Trump and these people are sociopaths and they have been hurting little kids like more, like in ways worse than what you have been told thus far, which might explain why the Epstein files are not being released, because it may, like, to this point, people have thought it was just, they're raping girls. No. And there's been a little bit of touch on that there was some violence, a little bit, maybe beat one around a little. Someone got physically abused too. In that way. No, this kicks the door open on that. Like his accounts are that they have been torturing little kids. Like the physical abuse is 100 times more magnified. It's not just sexual abuse, but it is horrid physical abuse and then sexual abuse. And if you can imagine that happening with sending one kid to be beaten and then raped, and then over to another person immediately to be beaten and raped, and then over to another person immediately to be beaten and raped, and that these people all that are involved are senators, congressmen, Supreme Court justices, people of the highest degree. That's what his account leads to. You see, so let me put that in the chat. Again, it's disgusting. It's just too much, man. It's too much. But I need time to process that too, and I haven't finished listening to all of it. But but on that note, I'm going to be out. Listen, stand strong. The people that are out there demonstrating, the people that put their lives on the line for you, my heart is with you and your families, and I just want to thank you for doing that for the rest of America. Like, really, not that you should have had to lose your life. No, you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. But we know that you stood for justice for everybody, and and that is going to have to be remembered by every American. And I'm going to remember that these are the days of our civil rights movement. This is not the 1960s anymore or 1950s, right? This is 2026, and this is another civil rights movement, and this is a broad one. This time they're questioning everybody's Bill of Rights, not just black people, everybody's. And black people, you know what I'm saying? Like black people and white people and Asian people and anybody else, Latin people and anyone else, the working class. Yeah. So my thoughts are that we try to do what we can to bring us all together, right? And that's going to take some positive acts of love towards people that are from different backgrounds, positive affirmations for people of different backgrounds, and I will just leave it at that, backgrounds, to just take up the attitude of, listen, live and let live. You're not harming me. You're not doing anything. You're not harming me. You just want to be left to who you are. You have the right to live. You pay taxes. And that's what I want too, also from everyone else. Let me live the way I want to live. And that's enough. I respect that. Thank you. Let's support each other in that endeavor. I hope to see a lot more of that in this year, and let's get rid of these people, because they are, like, in my view, very anti-human. Like, it's not just American citizens that have something to fear, although you have a lot to fear and most immediate. But once they get rid of us, who else is next? So I have no doubt there's other people that are fearing this administration, and maybe they're not speaking, other governments, but they can see, and they can see the direction that this administration is going into. If you're willing to violate your own citizens' human rights and civil rights, and in the way that this administration is going about it, what threat do you make? Do you pose to other people? And I'm very sure other nations are having that discussion right now. So yeah, on that note, I appreciate everybody for coming out. Yeah, I really hope we get this shit together, but we're gonna find out. All right, y'all, I'll be back in 24 hours, so everybody be cool. Have a blessed day, a blessed morning in the Americas, a blessed evening in Asia, and a blessed day in the EU, Central European time, Africa time. Peace, y'all.
When I'm out walking, sometimes I think about, does love still exist? Yeah, I have my doubts. On the street, I check out how brothers be living. Yo, let's just say, kid, it ain't no Thanksgiving. We got people shooting dope, ain't never heard of hope. We got others with the gat and the brothers with the fucking scope. As I enter the projects, enter rec rooms, some brothers might see the doom. I see my nigga Paulo, fat pockets of papes. He knows the neighborhood biddies with all the dopest shapes. They go Dralo with the blowout fro. He's got a gap, hey yo, niggas gots to go. No show is live with narrating, fuck Memorex. My nigga Rollo's got a gat at Paulo's chest. One slug blasted out, down boy died. Now show me some love, kid, it sounds like a fucking lie. The struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Sometimes I think how the world come to this, a place where every man and woman needs a therapist. Mass confusion, people living in delusion, justify all the bullshit through the Constitution. Meanwhile, the masses struggle to survive. I think we're too busy to hear our people's cries. Singles mothers struggle to raise families, genocide committed through famine and disease. I wonder if these things will ever cease to exist. I know it could if we cease and desist. Giving all the power to the industrialists, giving all our power to the damn commercialists. They see us just as being sheep in this world, that want us to do what we're told, like boys and girls. Oh God, I wanna live another day so I can help provide equality and this day. The struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. Though we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. Everybody round the globe, open up your earlobe, your third eye, and then decipher the code. Through knowledge, understanding, then bring love into the concept instead of bling bling. Truth instead of biased educational methods, twisting, contorting God's message of love for every human being. Listen, motherfucker, don't you hear the screams? It's time to do much more than talk, debate, and spread hate. We need to think and at the same time investigate, understand what our actions may create. Before continuing the cycle we procreate, we can clone humans, but at the same time we can't feed humans. The future of man is actually looming. It's really depressing, it's true. And yes, the struggle goes on, people trying to survive, hold on. But we know it's been so long, pain without a limit, so wrong. see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. Listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hit the boom. I be the Walkman, hit the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Testimony, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. Employ me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. Here's the card, they call me Uncle Vigor. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors. I'll be the parallel to the fiction. You're fixated on this brother's nature. Relax behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange. The whole conception was good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics. Yes, atomic, it bleeds like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the robotic type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable dictions. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Every dog chill while the other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb a ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. The father is the one who protects ya, and the mother, she will never neglect ya. To divine nature, the people respect ya, and in this way I deliver my lecture. I know how to see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. Listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy. Shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Tenderoni, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey. Kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. It's the card, they call me Uncle Bigger. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors. I be the parallel to the fiction. You're fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange. The whole concept, yo, is good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics, just atomic. Bees like a bonnet, cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the Bugatti type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable diction. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Prairie dogs chill while the other dogs howl. So too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb the ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. Follow him, the one who protects ya. And the mother, she will never neglect ya. Through divine nature, the people respect ya. And in this way I deliver my lecture.